Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where after a little bit of off-camera testing, because I didn't think that this would be particularly interesting to do on camera, I've made a couple of alterations to this craft. You can see here the strut work has changed. This was very wiggly with the previous design. So I've changed the strut work here. We've added in a KER, we've added in some batteries here, a singular battery bank, because we definitely did need that. I've also removed the engine that was here because there's no point, right? We've got a heat shield right here, and this engine is never going to be useful, except exclusively as a landing engine, I suppose. So we're not going to do that. I left the fuel tank there with only liquid fuel in it. I removed the oxidizer so that that can be moved down into this tank as we start to burn some of that. It's just a little bit of extra reserve for our nuclear engine now and a structural element. And then the KER was added in. Otherwise, this is good to go. So we're ready to launch this thing, and off we go. The real question is, once we get there, how exactly are we going to guarantee that we land in Explodium? That's going to be interesting. We'll figure that out, I suppose. To a certain degree, though, with Eve, it kind of depends on luck. At least the way I do it. I'm sure there's a better way to handle it, but that's kind of the way that I handle it. Let's get this loaded on in here. There we go. Let's hit kill rot, throttle up, and off we go. Beautiful. So at this point, let's bring this on up to maybe like 120 vertical. It's a little faster than I normally go, but I've not been super happy with our ascent profiles lately. So let's bring this up to like 120, maybe even like 150, and see how that feels. There's 150. Okay, we're heading right on over now. And I'm just hoping that that extra vertical speed pushes us through the atmosphere just that little bit quicker. And we'll just slowly tip on over here. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of our prograde marker, but we definitely need to be pulling it over towards the horizon. But I just wanted that extra little bit of vertical kick there. Otherwise, this should be reasonably fine. So I felt like we haven't had enough vertical speed previously. And we'll just see how this feels. Maybe it feels good, maybe it doesn't. Now I'm noting right now, we're already putting more into our horizontal than our vertical, and we're chilling at about 20 kilometers here. Let's just walk to surface velocity up for right now. And we'll park here. Not really park here. It's going to continue heading over. Eventually, we're going to want to go into orbital prograde. Our altitude is not quite as high as I'd like it to be, but I think at this point, let's go to orbital prograde. We're at 40 kilometers. Let's ride out here until about 50, and then we go to horizontal velocity up. It's a little bit of an extreme turn here that we just took. But I definitely want to get more horizontal speed here. A little bit awkward in terms of the prograde marker, no doubt about that, but we'll just burn here until about 100 kilometers. I don't know that this is better. I'm kind of feeling like it's not. Although, I mean, we're basically at orbital velocity right now. I'm just burning a little bit extra until we're at like 102. There we go. That is basically horizontal velocity. That's not bad. It almost got us into orbit here. Yeah, that's like 300 meters per second. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I like it. So we're just going to coast here for a bit, and I think that we are going to sit on the prograde marker for now to have less drag. We've definitely slowed down. We can ditch our fairing at this point, which would be good. Okay, this is looking reasonably fine. I don't love our current apoapsis height, but it's fine, even if it drops down below 100, right? It doesn't actually matter. That's completely and totally okay. So we're going to go to the node very soon here. Actually, I feel like now is a decent time to start heading to the node. We barely have any drag at this altitude. We can see it's not going to drop down below 100. That's for sure. So let's head on over. I'm going to physics warp us up, and we can see there's still a little bit of wiggling in there. That's going to be, I think, kind of exciting once we lose these tanks. But we'll be in orbit by then, or very close to it, so I think it'll be fine. Cool. We've got about 2 minutes until our actual burn here. Let's warp forward, although we should definitely remember to extend our photovoltaic panels. We should be fine on electric charge for a while here. Yeah, there's definitely some wiggling going on there. Okay. We'll extend that on out, and I think for the time being, we probably want to do like we did before and turn our reaction wheel off on... I guess we'll just crank the wheel authority down. We'll turn our reaction wheel off up here, and that'll do. We need to warp a little bit further here, so about an extra minute. 40 seconds. 30, 20, 10, and now. It didn't go at first, but that was because I was mousing over this. Okay. So our side boosters detach. And that is us in orbit. Cool. So that'll do. Now we need to head out towards Eve. So we want to go towards the sun. Once we're about here, we want to do a prograde burn. Hope that we don't have the moon intercepting us, and indeed we do not. And what does this look like? If we were to set Eve as our target and continue to burn prograde here, that's interesting timing. What if we were to wait a few orbits? What does that look like? Okay, that would be a lot of orbits. Okay, so that's definitely kind of close on the timing. Kind of close. But it's not really close enough. So we're going to back it off to be about here or so. And then we'll need to do an inclination change and a proper intercept. The timing isn't perfect. We would have launched in a transit window if we really wanted to do that. And we didn't. So let's get this wiggled on over. It's definitely a little bit awkward. Okay, that's a lot more wiggle than I was expecting to have. Let's get in position for the node. This wheel is still on 0 authority here. Let's put the reaction wheel here onto pilot only. Okay, and this wheel is the one that's primarily running us. We should be a lot more stable once this is burned out, which will be relatively soon. Let's warp on forward. There we go. And let's commence our burn here. Also, we'll have gimbaling here to be able to offset some of that. We're not really on the node here, so let's physics warp our way up. That's going to be a little bit awkward. And we'll freeze our physics there. Cool. And let's warp forward that last little bit. 10 seconds, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Beautiful. So this is going to be a relatively lengthy burn here. How are we with physics warping it? We're not really seeing any compression, so that looks good. We're not seeing major wiggling either. It looks like a fairly stable burn. I like it. So we'll come out of the physics warp now. 40 meters per second to go. That's close enough. Yep, that'll do. So our next move, of course, is at this ascending node, and we'll just match planes. So that'll be a 2.1 degree burn there. So we'll do something along the lines of that. 298.6. Okay, seems fine. We'll rotate on over. Now that we have less weight down here, it seems a lot less wiggly. Cool. We did burn off about half of this fuel, so that's looking good. And that's going to be in about 55 days. Okay, off we go. Goodbye, Kerbin. You just straight up vanished. I don't know where you went, but we're moving quite quickly, and apparently that was a very strange inhale. Okay, that was very unusual. I don't know what happened with that one, but that was exciting. So we're about ready for this burn now. Kerbin just completely vanished. And about 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Beautiful. So this is not going to fully exhaust all of this fuel, but it will get it a little bit closer. Once we do our retrograde burn at the periapsis, that will get us a whole lot closer. This should be more than good enough. Yep, that looks fine. So we'll do a retrograde burn around here. And the question is, what would that look like for an intercept? It's just random timing, right? That's completely random, but it's not amazing. Okay. We'll bring it right back around, and we're just going to look to... Largely, we're looking to encapsulate this orbit, right? I want this to still be our target, but we're going to largely encapsulate this orbit, which means we're looking to bring this guy around, not this way. We're looking to bring it prograde. And have it be about, like, this. So that we can do a fairly similar burn from any point and get an easy intercept. This is not an efficient way to get an intercept, but it is a guaranteed way. It's not efficient in terms of time, and it's not all that efficient in terms of fuel either. So it'll be fine, but it'll take some time. We've got about 170-day time warp here. That's fine. So we're going to burn here and circularize around Eve's orbit, and then we're going to look to bring this guy on in. We're going to aim for a fairly low orbit around Eve and try to guarantee where our landing zone is going to be that way. But it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely not going for a fuel-efficient burn, because we do actually care where we're going to land on Eve. If I didn't care where we were going to land on Eve, I'd just look to aero capture here. But this is not going to be fuel efficient, so that's fine. I mean, we've still got 5,300 meters per second in this, right? It's not a concern. So 20 seconds, 10, and actually right now. So off we go. Cool. So that's all looking good. No issues whatsoever here. Only about another 15 seconds on this burn. Yeah. Definitely looking good here. We're still going to have some fuel left over in this tank, which is kind of remarkable. Okay, I overshot that slightly, but it should be fine. I'm not too concerned about that. So let's see what an intercept would end up looking like here. Sometime over here? No. No, we don't need any radial in there. Get out of there. And note how this is only a 90 meter per second burn to get an intercept at this point. And it should be a halfway decent intercept once we find timing for it. Looks like we're going to have to wait in orbit, though. Oh. That's definitely awkward. Okay, this is going to be a pretty long wait. As another option, we can use some of this extra fuel instead. So we would go around to prograde here. Let's make our way there, and we're just going to raise up our apoapsis here. We've got enough fuel. I'm not too concerned. So we'll position here. I'm going to burn the rest of this fuel on pushing up our orbit here. Yes, this is very weird, but this will allow us to find a much faster orbit than one, or rather a much faster intercept than one in like 20, 30 years, which would be insane. So we're just going to separate this now, and then we're going to go to the apoapsis here, and we're going to circularize up here. That will give us a much better shot. So we would do something kind of like, where am I? Something kind of like this. That'll do. Cool. So we will align for that node. And yeah, turning is much, much better now. Please don't ram directly into it. with the solar panels? Well, this is only mildly awkward, but it looks like we're good. This is a physics-less part, apparently. Good to know. So that's fine. And we're out of here. Goodbye. That's, kind of lucky. Kind of lucky. So we're just going to raise this up. It'll cost a little bit more delta V to intercept, but we'll be able to find a much more time economical intercept. So that'll be good. So over we head here. About 30 more days until we rise this up by 256 meters per second. That's about right. That's about right. Kind of funny that we're going over to Duna and then bouncing back to Kerbin. I would think that going to Kerbin directly would be the better signal, but apparently not. This seems shorter than doing this, but whatever. Like, it seems similar length to this, right? I would think that would be a similar length. Regardless, it's fine. We're going to warp forward a little bit further here. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So this is going to be about a 30-second burn. We can physics warp that one. Looks very nice and stable coming out of the physics warp, and that's close enough. So now we should be able to find ourselves a much more reasonable intercept, rather than one in like 30 years. So we can see here we're still a bit off in terms of our timing, no doubt about that. But if we were to do this, that did not go correctly. Can I press the button, please? Yeah, that moves a lot more. So now this is only going to be in like 2 years. Okay, so what would that intercept actually look like? That's not bad. It's not exactly equatorial, but it doesn't need to be. We can fine-tune that in. I'd like to be aiming for somewhere around 100 kilometers. We want to be in space low for sure. This is actually very close to being captured, so that's looking good. And yes, that's going to be in a while. We're going to have to do a couple of orbits, but at least now we don't have to do like 30 orbits, right? That would have been painful. No doubt about that. So this is going to be about a 2-year time warp. Let's get into position for it here. No, that's the wrong button. There we go. And let's warp. This is going to be a lengthy one, so I'm definitely going to cut out this warp. See you guys as we're closer to the end of it in just a bit. Okay, so here we are, approximately near the end of that very long time warp. Fantastic. There it ends. And we're going to just commence this burn here in about 40 seconds. 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Excellent. About a 30-second burn here. And of course, we'll need to do a retrograde burn once we get there, but we're probably going to need to change our... We're probably going to need to do a bit of a corrective burn here. So I think I overshot. I definitely overshot a bit there. Let's get turned around, and yeah, this is currently going to be... Actually, that's not terrible. But let's get situated here. Let's bring this right on in theory. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, yeah, this is about correct. So we just want to bring this down to about 100 kilometers. 300, 200, and... Okay, that's in the atmosphere. I overshot it again. Back we go to retrograde, and let's thrust limit this guy down. There we go, 0.5%. And let's physics warp our way around. There we go. Let's bring that right on out. Up to about 100 kilometers. 90 kilometers is where the atmosphere starts. So we want to have some amount of leeway here. So we will commence a retrograde burn at this periapsis. And we'll bring that right on down. And then we'll take a look at what the biomes look like on this inclination. It's kind of a wacky inclination, but we can certainly change it to be a bit more equatorial if we need to. I mean, we've still got like 3,700 meters per second in this, right? It's not a concern. But let's get oriented here. About 128-day warp, but this is going to need to be unthrust limited. There we go. So it's not a 1 day long warp. That would have been exciting. And let's warp and make sure that this doesn't change too much. Only 1 meter. Okay, good. So that's not a problem. So let's head on in here. About 80 days to warp. Beautiful. 50 more days. We should be seeing Eve come up somewhat soon-ish, but I don't know what direction it's going to be in. It's going to be in a direction. There it is. Hi, Eve. Okay, we are, of course, cruising at about 4,300 meters per second right now. We're going to commence this burn in about 50 seconds. 40, 30, 20, 10. We're loading stuff in. 3, 2, 1, and mark. Okay, so this is going to be we are already in orbit. Wow, that did not take much. Not take much at all. We want to physics warp this and continue to circularize, of course. Cool. We're seeing that periapsis drop down a little bit right now. As long as it remains above 90, it's okay. Is it going to start going up now that we're on the other side of this? Apparently not. Okay. We might want to correct that, but I don't think it actually matters all that much. We've got about 10 seconds left in this burn. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay. We're definitely not perfect here, but this is good enough. We're not going to dip into the atmosphere. We're not super high on one end. It's by no means a circular orbit. But it'll do. It'll do. So we know that this is land. We're currently over Explodium C. So we can put a marker like here. And let's see where this sea ends. So we can see here we're currently over Shallows, Explodium C, Shallows, Explodium C, and it ends about here. Okay? Let's continue to warp. And keep in mind this is rotating underneath us, so that's going to be exciting. There's another one here, but that's Crater Lake. I think that we don't want to land in Crater Lake. We want to land in one of the seas. There's a lot of land on this trajectory. That's an eastern sea. So that was about here. Okay. This seems like this might be our best bet. Yes. So that goes all the way to here. As long as we land somewhere in this range, that should be good. So let's put it to be about here or so. So we would put in a maneuver and it would need to go there. Let's cancel all of these maneuvers. And we want to come down about here. So we do a maneuver there. That would be a retrograde maneuver. Bringing this down, that's a little too aggressive. I want it to be about here or so. And 60 kilometers is probably okay, considering what we're dropping in here. Should be fine. So we'll get in position for that. And fingers crossed on this one. Okay. We're going to be dumping some fuel for sure, but that's fine. Let's warp on around. It's only going to be a 3-second burn. And the idea here is I'm actually not going to bring it down to 60 kilometers. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put it at about 80. Okay, there we go. So now it's only a 1-second burn, and we can thrust limit this down to like 6% thrust to boost that up and make it a little bit easier to control. So that's going to start in about 20 seconds here. 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay. So we're dropping this on down. And we're just targeting a periapsis of 80 kilometers here. Cool. And now we just hope that our scouting worked. All we can do now is hope. What? What? Oh boy. Our decoupler here didn't fire. Well, that's exciting. That's very exciting. This thing is not going to survive. So obviously we want to turn on the reaction wheel here, right? But this is not going to survive. So we can put this onto normal and flip it over to retrograde. But without a heat shield, there's no way. I'm 100% certain that I checked that. But maybe I didn't actually save it. That's exciting. Well, to save time, here's what I'm going to do. We know the cost of this thing, and we know that that cost... Let's see, when was the last quick save? Year 23, day 273? Hang on. What is it right now? Year 23, day 273. So the last quick save was, or the last auto save, I should say, was a little bit ago. So let's load that in. We know how much it costed to send this, so I'm going to deduct it, and we're just going to say that this all worked according to, or not according to plan. But we're going to deduct the cost, which was like 240K. And we're going to say that we made it back out here in exactly the same way. That's a staging issue, I think. Did I forget a decoupler there? We'll find out. If I did, apparently I'm getting a Discord message. Fantastic. If I did, then we are going to have a bit of a problem. In that case, we're going to have to rerun it. Guaranteed. But we'll see. We'll see. Is there a decoupler? That is the question. So let's see what we've got. Any moment now, KSP, you can do it. I'm quite confident. If I did forget it here, we'll have to rerun the mission, and this mission will be a failure. But if I didn't, then we're going to rerun the mission. Yeah, there's a decoupler right here. It's just in the wrong staging position. Okay. Yup, I'm dumb. Good to know. Is this after the burn? No, we are in this orbit. Okay, we know where we want to do this. So we're going to do this in exactly the same way, where we're coming down about here at about 80 kilometers. About like that. Okay, now we need to deduct the cost. So we're going to hop into here and deduct the cost of this. The previous mission was a failure, 100%. So we're going to lose that, and then this goes down. Instead of being 28, this would go down, I think it's like 40. So I'm going to take this down to like 50, which means that this goes to 78, if I'm mathing correctly. About like that. So basically, we redid this, and let's head over to the node, and let's bring this in again. Okay. Let's warp. And let's try this one more time, now that the staging is correct. So essentially, it's just a time save. We could get this back out here. We're not having any problems with Delta V, right? So I just didn't want to have to redo the whole mission again. So we're paying the price as if we did redo the whole mission again, but you don't have to watch through that. Excellent. 20 seconds, 10 seconds, and we commence in 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, I'm going to commence at not full thrust here. I don't want to thrust limit it. Let's just bring this on down. That should be good enough. Yes? Maybe bring it down a little further. 80 kilometers instead of 81. There we go. That'll do. So, at this point, we want to go to surface velocity minus. We want to stage this and have it properly staged this time. There we go. We'll inflate this heat shield. At this point, there's no point in having the solar panels extended. They will likely be broken by aero forces anyway. The real question is, does this antenna survive? I hope it does. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. We have a built-in antenna, and we have some other communications infrastructure in the system, so we might be able to connect to, like, our long-range comsat or something. Are we on surface velocity minus? Oh, this reaction wheel is turned off still. There we go. That'll do the trick. So we're going to warp on down. And we should enter over a sea here. We are over the Explodium Sea. And we should start to decelerate pretty dramatically. This thing has a lot of drag. Okay, where are we in the orbit? Coming in sooner than I expected, but looking at this, it looks like, assuming this is water, this should be good. Well, it's not water, it's Explodium. We're over peaks right now, shallows, and Explodium Sea. So in theory, this is looking good. This is going to be Crater Lake. I'm not sure if Crater Lake counts, but we're going to slow down a lot before we get there. This is technically over Crater Lake. That is not what I intended. But we're still moving pretty quickly here. We are slowing down a lot. Well, Crater Lake is a splashdown. I don't know if it counts as an ocean. That's Impact Ejecta Lowlands. Unfortunate. Looks like we're going to hit Lowlands here. Well, it is kind of guesswork, but I was hopeful. Unfortunate. Lowlands is definitely non-ideal. Well, there's not really much of a point in continuing here, so we are going to... Well, we can drop this down onto the surface. That's completely fine. We're going to deploy these guys, but it is time to put a cut in here, and I guess this thing just becomes a comsat here, and we're going to have to try again. This is why I don't like trying to hit particular biomes on Eve. You just can't tell where you're going to come down. It's very, very difficult to tell. So, here we are. Apparently, we're going to hit Lowlands. That is sad. But there's no point in continuing from here. We are going to try again next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. This is going to technically be a third attempt for this one. That's exciting. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James, Shadow Wolf, MLohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kentogan, Andy Magar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. And I'm probably not going to make you watch through flying out here again. We'll probably have another one good to go when we get here. See you all next time.